Welcome to Big Blend Radio with your hosts, Lisa and Nancy, editors of BigBlendMagazine.com.
Welcome to Big Blend Radio, everyone. Every third Tuesday, we get to visit with our friends Arlene Gould and Kelly West in Natchitoches, Louisiana. Now, Natchitoches is a special place. We keep going back. We're like bad pennies when it comes to Natchitoches because it's the oldest settlement in the state of Louisiana. It is, part of the Cane River National Heritage Trail, the Cane River National Heritage Area. It is part of the El Camino Real de los Tejas National Historical Trail. And there's just so much to see and do, and it's home to the Louisiana State Meat Pie. So you've got to have a meat pie when you go there. But today we're going to hear about how Natchitoches and the state of Louisiana will celebrate National Travel and Tourism Week, which runs from May 1st through 7th, 2022. Obviously, after the pandemic, tourism is really, really important for our country. It's very exciting to see international guests come back to our country, and also for all of us to run around and travel domestically. It's also very important for Louisiana after the recent hurricanes and storms that they've gone through. But the state is actually one of the top 10 destinations in the world and welcomes over 53 million visitors annually. So very excited to talk about that today, what we can see and do, what's happening for Tourism Week. If you go to Natchitoches, you got to go to Natchitoches.com. Also visit travellouisiana.com. But excited to welcome Arlene Gould back on the show, and also Louisiana's 54th Lieutenant Governor, Billy Nungesser. So welcome, Billy. How are you?
Doing great. Good to be with you.
Hey, good to have you on the show. Arlene, it's always good to see your smiling face with tulips in the background. What's going on in Natchitoches? You're all having a party still.
We always having a party, but yeah, our tulips are out right now. They've been out for about the last 3 weeks. So we're kind of winding down on tulip takeover in downtown Natchitoches. Our city workers, do such a great job with all of our flowers around town year round. And I think this year they put out about 2,000 pots of tulips.
Oh, wow.
So it was looking pretty good there.
Lovely to hear. Lieutenant Governor, I'm very excited to have you on the show talking about tourism because I know that's something dear to your heart. It's the fourth leading market for you, right? The industry for the state.
Right. Oil and gas, ag, seafood, government, and tourism. It's right up there as one of the not only largest employers, but also economic engines for the state. There's so many things connected to tourism, the seafood industry, the restaurant industry, hotels, attractions, shops, and it just goes on and on. So those visitors, think about it, over 50 million people visiting Louisiana the last year before COVID. We've only got a little over 4 million people. Louisiana hits way above its weight in visitors coming to the state.
I love that you realize it's how everything is connected. I mean, even schools are affected by the tourism dollar coming in. So I think it's an important thing for our entire country to get tourism back on track. And then also in regards to entrepreneurs, that's something what I think is really near and dear for us when we travel in Louisiana. You have a lot of small businesses and, mom and pop shops. You have historic downtowns like Natchitoches. And I think that's something really crucial that tourism can support those independents.
Right. And, many years ago when I got elected, I had an event in New Orleans and learned quickly. People didn't realize there was Mardi Gras outside of New Orleans. So we shifted our focus from Mardi Gras to promote Mardi Gras all over Louisiana, and quickly saw double-digit improvements in visitors from all over the world coming to places like Natchitoches, Shreveport, Monroe, Houma, Morgan City. So this past year, as a matter of fact, Mardi Gras increased over 29% statewide from the last year we had Mardi Gras. So incredible numbers coming out of COVID all over Louisiana for Mardi Gras. And that rolls right into our fair and festival season, over 400 fairs and festivals, and we promote them all over Louisiana. We like to say if you can eat it, catch it, shoot it, or dance to it, we name a festival after it. And surely we do that all over Louisiana.
Well, you've got the Meat Pie Festival coming up too, don't you, Arlene?
Absolutely.
We still
It'll
got
be
to
a
come
big
back
one.
for
It's
that.
the 20th year this year for the Meat Pie Festival. So that's
Ah.
good.
I think that's a big deal about the food in Louisiana is huge. And you mentioned seafood. How important is it for visitors to come in to actually eat something authentically real from the state? That's something that when we travel, if you're getting the same thing from out of state, it's kind of boring. We want to taste what's coming from that area.
Well, that's why we encourage our restaurants and attractions to use good Louisiana seafood. You can tell when you bite into a shrimp po' boy if those are imported seafood shrimp or fresh out the Gulf of Mexico. You really can tell the difference. So when people come here and get some of that good gumbo with the shrimp and crab, crawfish etouffee, some great fresh alligator, all of that is just incredibly fresh and cooked a special way in every corner of the state. So it really makes it unique. It leaves you with a good flavor, a good taste in your mouth.
I like it. And when you get to food and festivals, one thing I, especially in New Orleans, is very known for, all the music. And I think the state of Louisiana, I mean, we've been to the folk festival, the 40th annual one at the university, was it 2019? Was it? It was right before COVID.
It was 2019.
It's all a blur, but it was some of the best music because it was not just representing Natchitoches area, but the state of Louisiana folk music. And that's something, to come back to life. Musicians must be like just chomping at the bit to get back out playing in the bars and in the clubs and then at the festivals. Do you see that coming back?
Absolutely. That's why we made an extra effort to all our fairs and festivals. If you use Louisiana musicians, we'll give you an extra incentive and pick up part of that tab to get those great musicians and bands back to work. And where you might only have one or two bands, you might add a couple more if you're getting a grant from the state. We added $1.5 million to our budget for backing those musicians at fairs, festivals, and special events to help get them back to work. But you're right, from Zydeco to Cajun to jazz, we've got so many different cultures mixed up together. You can go anywhere in Louisiana and hear so many different types of music. And that's what kind of makes it special.
The other thing is the history is not just the music, but that brings in the culture. And like Natchitoches really taught us about the diversity that you have. And obviously, New Orleans, Baton Rouge, Lafayette, right? There's just, I mean, everywhere you go, the history is rich. And, every time we go to Natchitoches, they've got another park like the Jefferson Highway. I got to bring that up. The Jefferson Highway Park is there. But it seems like the state parks are getting, just doing better, the state park system and the state historic sites. But there's I was reading that there's a Civil War trail now for Louisiana. So it really seems like history is at the forefront, because I think that's why Louisiana as a state is really dominating, because you have not lost your integrity of who you are, who the people are, or the nature and the land.
Well, I'm so proud too, 5 years ago when I went to my first tourism conference, I learned we were the only state that didn't have a civil rights trail. So I came home and put a team together and quickly learned the first bus boycott was actually in Baton Rouge. A gentleman, Mr. Jones, 17 days out of law school, filed that lawsuit. The Bogalusa March, the Leona Tate, who was led into school by her mama with police guarding her as she walked in at McDonough 19. We've been able to recognize all of these incredible stories, tales, and heroes and go around the state. We have been so successful. When we started this journey, we had one marker on the National Trail. They've already added 9 more, and we're just getting started. To recognize all the things that took place here in Louisiana, when the millions of people that go to Alabama and Mississippi for the Civil Rights Trail, to know that trail will now continue into Louisiana, recognizing and honoring so many people that stood up and were so brave back then, that we're telling that story now in Louisiana.
Oh, it's wonderful. And you're also a state of trails. Like you've got the Steel Magnolias and Movie Trail, Arlene, over in Natchitoches.
We do. We kind of followed the lieutenant governor's office on that one because they were the ones that launched the film trail in 2018 for the 100-year anniversary of the movie Tarzan. So the following year in 2019, when we celebrated the 30th anniversary of Steel Magnolias, the lieutenant governor came down here and we launched our own Natchitoches film trail. So
Oh, that's awesome. And well, you've got the Cane River National Heritage Trail too. I mean, this history that you have no man's land, I mean,
mhm.
everyone knows about the Louisiana Purchase. And then when you get into the Louisiana Purchase history, man, it's all over. There's so
And-
much.
And I'll tell you, if you ever go, and I tell people all over the world this, if you get a chance to go to Natchitoches and see the Christmas lights for the Christmas parade,
Mm.
if you can't get in the Christmas spirit there, there's no hope. I rode in the parade last year, incredible crowds, the way they decorate, the festivities, the music, and then there's that hardware store, been in the same family over 100 years. They've got decorations that you can buy at old games that you've never seen since you were a kid, right there. Incredible shops and attractions in that town. It's just for Christmas, it's got to be on your list.
Oh man, we still got to do that, Arlene. We've been talking about this for years.
You've
This
been here a
year-
couple of times, but never during Christmas. So
This
there you
year,
go.
This year, when we're coming down to do part of the Jefferson Highway, we're coming.
Great.
We're
Very
coming.
good.
I think you should put her on the float, the tourism float in the Christmas parade.
Okay.
It's a once in a lifetime to ride on a float and see people screaming for throws. I think that should be on your bucket list.
I want to do that. Anything that's floats, I'm in there. Speaking of floats, you guys were in two major parades this year, the Rose Bowl and then in the Macy's parade, right? Louisiana was represented. Was it the first time that in the parade?
Yes, we approached Macy's and said, we want to put a float in. Well, after looking at what they gave us, I said, look, we build floats. We need a wow factor. So after going back and forth, they gave us the longest float ever. That alligator crawling down the street, blowing confetti out its mouth. And the other thing we said is we've got to have a Louisiana musician representatives. So we picked John Batiste, little known, loved his video, Freedom. We sent it to him. They accepted it.
Awesome.
A few weeks later, he gets nominated for 9 Grammys, comes home with 5.
He rocks.
Incredible luck of the draw that we picked him. So proud of him, a great ambassador for Louisiana. So then we said, let's give the Rose Parade a try. We went out there and met with those folks, and the lady asked, "Are you going to ride in the parade?" I said, "No, ma'am." I said, "We're going to put a police officer of the year, school teacher of the year, a
Nice.
nurse or doctor that risked their life during COVID, Miss Louisiana, a local boy, made it big, the American Idol winner Lane Hardy, a volunteer of the year." We wanted to put all the good Louisiana has to offer and highlight all those good people that help their neighbors, that really make Louisiana special.
Mm.
And the lady said, "I got one other question. Does everyone in Louisiana have that much passion?" I said, "Yes, ma'am, everybody does." But it was an incredible, we got the second line through the den, 3 days, putting 34,000 roses on that float. Everybody in
Wow.
Louisiana should make the trip out there. It was a trip of a lifetime. We'll be back this year with some new incredible additions. But we won the best floral design and best entertainment our first year in the parade.
I love it. And listen, the Shreveport is home to America's the Rose Garden. I mean, this is America's flower, national flower, and you've got the American Rose Society Rose Garden, which is beautiful. We actually toured there after they'd gone through a hurricane. This was way back about almost 10 years ago. Very beautiful, and it was amazing to see how many people came together to help them rebuild. And that goes to my next part of this is, all these storms that happened over the last couple of years have not been easy for Louisiana. I know we've had to reschedule interviews, but you guys in Natchitoches should get right back on it. It's like, oh yeah, this happened, but we're getting back to business. As travelers, a lot of times these disasters happen, like the wildfires in California, and people are either wanting to go to be a looky-loo or they're going, hey, I'm nervous to go back. Should we go back? When is it okay to go back to an area? And also, how can we help? I mean, I think America has been very good with each other over all these disasters of coming together to help each other as a national community, regardless of what's going on politically. We all know when we need to help each other, we do. So now, where are we sitting for Louisiana? New Orleans, open for people? That I think it's a really important thing for people to know.
Yeah, New Orleans is definitely, the whole state is open. And even along the coast where we're still rebuilding, all the seafood docks are open. They're catching seafood. We had Mardi Gras all along the coast. So the people, even though several are still living in FEMA trailers and still don't have their homes back, we still celebrate. We celebrate the fairs, the festival, our way of life. So we need people to continue to come and support the economy. But we do bounce back quickly. We help our neighbors. Unfortunately, we're good at it. I'm actually a public servant today because I rode out Katrina and rescued people and never saw a politician. But the local people help their neighbors out time and time again. I took in 34 people I didn't know that lived with me for months after Katrina. And it was the volunteers, the citizens, the private businesses that helped lift up those communities and get them back on their feet. And we're so thankful to have so many good people in Louisiana, but from around the country and the world that come volunteer to help us rebuild after every storm.
It's hard work. I mean, it really is. And it's such a beautiful state. You want to keep it beautiful. That's, it's a really, really, it is beautiful. You can see so many different things, from hiking in Kisatchie National Forest, which we love, and you get wild. It's got to be azalea time now. It's got to be time. You can go swampy, so go hang out. That's my favorite. And then, you can float down Cane River Lake with a glass of wine and a beat of beer. Listen, I need to come back to Louisiana.
You're doing good. We need to hire you.
But okay, so let's look at your epitome of a vacation weekend. I know neither one of you really get those, but Lieutenant Governor, you get a vacation, a weekend off, you got some friends and family coming into town. What are you going to do in the state of Louisiana?
Well, I'll tell you, as I go around the state asking people to staycation here in Louisiana, one young lady asked me at a big event, "Where are you going on your staycation?" And I froze. I had to think quick. I said Toledo Bend and Natchitoches. And I went home and told my wife, "Look, we're not doing anything the week before Christmas. Why don't we go to Toledo Bend and Natchitoches?" She goes,
Beautiful.
"Why?" I said, "I couldn't think of nothing else." But we had the time of our life. We caught a lot of fish in Toledo Bend. They got charters. You can fish anywhere. You catch fish in Louisiana. And then we went to Natchitoches for 2 days. And the shops, the people, the food, the festivity around Christmas was just incredible. One of my best Louisiana trips I've ever taken was that weekend. So It's definitely something that everyone should do. Toledo Bend Lake, the #1 bass lake 2 years in a row. Natchitoches for Christmas, the lights, it's second to none. But there's so many great things to see all over Louisiana. And that's why we say on any given weekend, there's something going on in many places of Louisiana to go see and do. And now that our state parks are doing private-public partners, we've got a mountain bike trail picked the #2 trail in the country. We've got horseback riding.
Wow.
So we're doing those things to get more activities in our state parks that really got our numbers up, and people are really enjoying that.
And you got the Louisiana Country Music Museum everyone's got to go to. Man, I've been promoting that because it's so connected to, some of the places we've been outside of the state, Texas and Mississippi. Like, there are these music trails, and Arlene, you've taken us around and showed us where all the old juke joints are. And I'm like, people have got to know that this history. I mean, Fats Domino played Blueberry Hill in your backyard, girl. I'm a little jealous.
Well, the state's working on a new music trail, so I'm excited about that. Yeah, that's a
Seriously?
new product that they're working on, a music trail. Yeah.
Do you want some help?
Yeah, there you go. Hey.
Okay, so what are you going to do for your staycation?
Well, it's funny you should ask because just this week I booked 4 nights at one of the state parks, one of my favorite parks to go to. And it's in my, family's backyard in West Wego by Usignet State Park. They have some really great cabins. And I've stayed in those cabins. Well, these are the new cabins, but I actually stayed in the original cabins some almost 40 years ago. But
Cool.
it's so peaceful out there. It's just so beautiful. It's right on Bayou Signet, and it's just that's where I enjoy going. I just
Oh, man.
like I said,
Cool.
it's practically in my mom's backyard, but that's where I like to go.
That's cool. I want to go. Well, we learned how to go kayaking in Louisiana, but I still go in circles, but that's okay because it's funny, you got to have a good time, So no, but with Tourism Week coming up, is there anything special going on? Or, I mean, that's a normal thing in Louisiana. Thing special you want to talk about, Arlene, for Natchitoches?
Well, we're going to do a kickoff breakfast on Friday, April 29th at one of our favorite restaurants, Lazion's Meat Pie
Oh, yay,
Restaurant.
yay.
So
Meat
we're going to do
pies.
a breakfast, a little breakfast kickoff for some of our partners, and we're going to recognize some of our frontline workers that,
Perfect.
do tours. There's some of the tour guides and some of the front desk workers and some of the restaurant workers here in town. So that's our time to honor and recognize them. So we'll be doing that, and we'll probably be doing a cleanup each year. During that week, we normally organize a cleanup so that we can go around and have one morning where we have several volunteers come and pick a neighborhood and we go do a cleanup locally, little.
I love that.
So those are just some of the things that we're planning. But yeah, it's a great time to recognize the frontline workers. They are the ones that are out there day after day, giving tours, telling the stories, and servicing our visitors so that they have a great experience and they'll want to come back or go home and tell their family and friends what a great time they had and send some more visitors our way. So
I love that. It's, and tourism work is not easy. You're dealing with multiple personalities. There's a lot of footwork, and, especially housekeepers, you've got to think about
it's hard work.
dishwasher. It's hard work. And
Yeah.
so to recognize them is important. And I think that's always a good reminder for us travelers to remember how hard, they are all working. And so tip generously. That's a good thing to do.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, I love that. Lieutenant Governor, anything in statewide that you want to acknowledge for Tourism Week?
We'll be traveling around the whole state, taking part in as many activities as we can get to. And that's another great thing. Arlene and her team does a great job at lifting up that community by celebrating and honoring those that work in the industry. We'll be going from Monroe to Ruston to New Orleans, home of Morgan City, Lafayette, Lake Charles.
Cool.
We'll be traveling the whole state, meeting with all those tourism folks, thanking them for what they do to bring Louisiana together to make it the great destination it is.
So that means when you're going to all these places, that means you get to have boudin, meat pies, beignets, gumbo, jambalaya.
I didn't get this size, not eating all of that.
Well, listen, Louisiana's fun, and that's why we have kayaking. Because after all that and hiking, you got to get out there. But it is, the food is good, the people are good. Like Nancy and I travel 100% full time on the road. Documenting parks, public lands. It's how we found Natchitoches, and we keep coming back, and we keep coming back to the state because people are just so nice. I mean, I don't care where we go, they'll just walk up and say, oh, have you been here? Have you done that? It's awesome.
I tell people as I travel the world, I ask them why you send people to Louisiana, travel agent, tour guides, and they talk about the food, the music, the culture. But number one, it's the people. They say y'all treat strangers like family. Where else in the world do you invite strangers to your backyard to eat crawfish? People
Arlene?
leave Louisiana with a friend for life, and they keep coming back for more.
It's
And that's
true.
why we have record-breaking numbers in tourism every year. It's because Louisianans open their arms and welcome visitors from all over the world and treat them like family. And I'm so proud of that because nowhere else in the world does that happen.
It really is true hospitality, being on the road 100%. You're going from hotel, and when we first came to Natchitoches, we did all the tourism. We did a lot of the restaurants and everything. And I think it was our last night. And Arlene says, "You're coming to dinner. Come on, I'm going to cook you some." Oh man, gumbo! I've still got pictures. And she gets in the kitchen. You are in for a treat. And then she's got lovely dogs. So she comes and she says, "Bring your laundry. Come on, come on, girls." And it was like nobody had done that on the road, like just taken this and said, "Come on, girls, you need to have home food. You need to be at home for a little bit."
Listen, I don't know how many more people we could fit in Louisiana, but if we had 10 Arlene Goulds, we could knock it out the park. She is a champion ambassador. She welcomes everyone. She treats them like family. She is just a shining star in the tourism industry, and I'm so proud to work with her.
We are too. We are. I'm so glad we have our third
No, too
Tuesday
kind.
show. Every third Tuesday, we talk about Natchitoches in Louisiana. And we do want to give just because we're talking about tourism, before we go, the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame. This is a big year. You've got all the induction ceremonies coming in summer. We're going to be doing a show on that. But the last time we went in there, you had Martin Luther King Jr.'s his funeral car in there, and new exhibits. And I always want to go there and say hi to Tom Brady on the TV. And Terry Bradshaw. Got to go say hi to people in there. But so everyone keep up with that too, because there's a lot going on with the sports museum. And that's a special place when you see how many people in Louisiana kicked butt sports wise around the country. So
Absolutely.
yes. So everyone, thank you so much for joining us. Everyone, again, the website is Natchitoches.com. And as Kelly West over at Natchitoches Tourism likes to remind you, spell it like Mickey Mouse, NATCHITOCHES.com. And then you can also go to travellouisiana.com and keep with us at bigblendradio.com. Thank you both so much.
Thank you. Have a great day.
You too.
Thank you all.